What's up, guys and gals? I'm your host Mike P of the FPC Virtual Channel, and I'm tuning in to a Blender conference. Y'all folks need to check this out. You can look in the video's description area to get to it. It's a huge eye-opener as to a lot of different Blender add-ons slash third-party tools that are being added to Blender through third-party developers. So this particular guy, I don't know his name. He didn't introduce himself as his name, but he's part of a team, and Blender Kit is something brand new that is pretty dope, and this is part of the demonstration he did. I highly recommend for y'all folks to check it out in order to figure out how to do what I'm doing here, and also so you can see what's possible. This is actually from the Blender Kit, and this is an ant that I was able to incorporate seamlessly. As soon as I just grabbed it, I dragged it and dropped it. The only thing I had to do is resize it. So in order for it to work, you have to resize it because the ant obviously is going to be very, very tiny. So let me show y'all folks the Blender Kit real quick. And in this video, you're going to learn how to use it. This is the Blender Kit, how it shows up on the screen. And you click on what you want to bring up. And these are just my 3D assets. You can go in and do much more stuff. But for the nature kit, I got the ant, and if you get the cat, you can get a fully rigged cat. So that blew me away. If you want to get this kind of stuff going on, watch the rest of the video and you'll get to see how far the rabbit hole goes with it. Catch you in the video. Here goes another video. This is the actual full video that I did. I did basically create it already. I just wanted to show y'all folks to scrub through the video. This is some of the stuff that I was playing around with. And you can get fully fledged characters that are already built in 3D. These are 3D scanned people, so you can go in and get 3D scanned actual people, and you can play around with that for your posing and learning how to do rendering if you're brand new to Blender, stuff like that. This is a really great kit for people who are brand new. So if you want to get that kind of stuff, definitely, like I said, try out Blender Kit. You only have up to the 22nd of November for the models that are coming free with the actual tool. After that, the free portion won't have models available. So it would behoove you to get the tool ASAP if you want to get started with Blender. If you're brand new to Blender, definitely go get that Blender Kit and try it out. Blender Kit is why I brought y'all folks to this particular video today, because it is crazy. It is really amazing what you can do with Blender if you find the right tools. So Blender Kit, you can type that into Google, but you're not gonna find it right away. I tried typing Blender Kit, it didn't show up. So this is the first video that I watched before I watched that one. So let's see, let's bring it up. It's right here, lighting talks, or it says lightning. Yeah, lightning talks. So this is the video that pretty much opened up my eyes to see that Blender is much more than meets the eyes. In the past, I didn't see any Blender conferences. I just recently started watching Blender conferences after 3 months of going hard at Blender to try to produce some sort of results that I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to get an animation project jumped off because I was interested in Blender for that fact of getting a 3D model that I was looking for. And when I first started playing with 3D models, I eventually tried to use Blender as a tool to convert differing file formats, and that's what got me into it. I tried Blender about 5 years ago. I put it down after 2 days because it was a little too hard for me to understand, and at that point in time I wasn't into 3D at all. I didn't know any 3D. I just found Blender as a random tool, and while I was surfing the internet and searching for stuff, and I thought it looked pretty cool, but it was pretty hard for me to understand. I knew how to navigate, manipulate the screen and stuff like that, you know, scroll things around and zoom in, zoom out, and I understood those things, the basics to navigation on Blender, but what am I to do with it? How am I supposed to utilize it, and how is Blender going to benefit me? At the time, like I said, I didn't have any 3D knowledge, so it really didn't come to make any sense. It didn't come to my mind, and I didn't make any sense to gravitate to Blender as a tool because I had no purpose for it. I had no purpose to use it, and there was no purpose for using it, basically. So now, fast forward 5 years later, now I have a purpose for it because I already started playing around with 3D. I started with Adobe Dimension, and now I understand some basics to 3D, and I moved from one 3D tool to the next 3D tool, playing around with generator tools, character generator tools, like Daz 3D. I don't really use that much, but I played with it like for 2 days. Make Human, I've been using that for over a year. Adobe Fuse, Mixamo Fuse, those are character generator tools. So once I got into those tools, I had to learn the basics to what is the object file. Eventually I started learning what a UV map is and what mapping is and all that stuff. All the normal map, this placement map, this type of map, that type of map. I started to understand these things over time. Once you start understanding those basics, when you get to Blender, it will open your eyes and you'll start to be able to move and navigate a little bit further past the entry level, which is trying to figure out how to right click and left click, pretty much. So I highly recommend for y'all folks to watch this video. It's really, really important because this video has some new things that are coming out in Blender 2.8, as well as you can use it in Blender 2.9b if you're still using that actual version, which you should be, because that's the full release version. That's the only one that's available up to Blender 2.8. 2.8 is not a full release. 2.8b and the previous versions are all the full release versions of Blender, and you can use all of the old versions of Blender if you want, or just use one of them. That's up to you. So I highly recommend for y'all folks to get into this video, check it out, and see what it entails, because it goes into details as to use third-party development tools that can really lift and elevate your experience in Blender. So we go to Blender Kit and we go to this actual video, and you'll find out from this video as well. I'll put a link in the video's description area what this is about. It would behoove you to try this out right here. I'm going to show y'all folks in this video the benefits of using it. So how do you find it? It's blenderkit.com. I could have said that in the beginning, but that would spoil the fact that you should go through these other steps to learn more about the tool. So once you get this tool on your actual Blender, you're going to be blown away. You're going to be literally blown away. And that, I'm telling you folks, it is crazy. It blew my mind what you can do using these third-party tools, which I never found an add-on like this. So that's what it is. It's an actual Blender add-on, but it is very, very high powered. When I say high powered, it is way beyond your imagination of what you can actually place into Blender as an add-on. So it would behoove you to check this out. Once you're done checking out the conference and you watch what the guy has to say, and then you visit their Blender Kit actual YouTube channel. They have a YouTube channel dedicated to this actual tool. I didn't subscribe, so I'm going to subscribe today. I believe this is a brand new tool that recently came out. Look, they joined in April of 2018. So you're coming in at the front gate, basically, of this tool. You'll be one of the first users to get into this tool for Blender. So I highly recommend for y'all folks to try it. Let's go. I'm gonna keep saying I highly recommend that because it is mind-blowing. Now, pricing. They have a pricing set up. I recommend for y'all folks to try it out for free for starters. If you are a 3D artist and you are into graphic design and all that stuff, and you already know how to do 3D modeling, you already have your own assets that you created from scratch. And when I say your own assets, that means that you literally created everything, or you have all the rights to it. You can go in here and you can become not necessarily a partner of them, but you can actually become a creator, which is, it says right here, become creator. You can become a creator out here and you can literally sell your assets. So that's what makes this thing mind-blowing. You can sell it through, in conjunction to being a member here who is supplying 3D assets to their database. So you're actually doing all your work, or you've already done the work. Maybe you've been working with Blender for years and you've been putting your assets out there and haven't found a way to benefit from that actual work that you've done. Well, this is a chance to do it, and that's my end goal in a way to become a 3D artist, is to be able to generate assets for other people around the planet, and from scratch, you know, be able to come up with 3D designs and put that out there, and depending on the quality of what I generated, they will choose to make purchases. And that's how it works. If you don't come up with higher quality for people, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna bypass it and they're gonna go to something that looks better, something that functions better, something that has a much better design. So this particular site is built and designed for that purpose, for you to get your connections to this actual tool. Once you tie yourself to the tool through becoming a member / becoming a creator, now you have the ability to go and grow out that actual building block, so you can build into it. And the pricing doesn't really reflect on that aspect for you per se, but if you want to become a consumer of the product, you can join as well. Once you join, you can consume a lot of these differing assets through using Blender inside of Blender, which is pretty amazing. So I did that, I joined, and right now I'm a free member. So I can show you all the pricing and stuff. This is not an ad, by the way. This is just me showing y'all folks what's available, and I just want y'all folks to see what it entails. So the free version says materials and brushes, upload, and then they have a bonus. And the reason why I wanted y'all to see this actual pricing is because if you get the free version up until the 24th of November 2018, so you got to jump in now in order to get the models. So the models that come with this actual tool are very high resolution, very high quality. A lot of them look really awesome, and I tried it out. So you can get this plan, but basically become a member. Once you become a member, you can go in through the actual back office of this website, blenderkit.com. It's an actual secure website, HTTPS, so you're all secured with that part. And like any other tool, you can actually utilize it as it sees fit, as it provides you the tooling. But when you get onto Blender, you're gonna see that it is just mind-blowing. So I'm gonna sign in, and I'll basically bypass this part and I'll be right back. So after I sign in, I'll show y'all folks once we merge onto Blender and how to merge onto Blender. Alright folks, so I'm back. Let me log in. I apologize if my actual audio level changes. That's because I changed my actual screen recorder. And I did that because now I'm going to be recording on a different level. I just wanted to kind of block out certain things, and I can block out certain things with this particular screen recorder with no problem. So here we're going to go to my profile. Certain things I don't want y'all folks to see, which you shouldn't show certain things to people. Your actual email address you don't want to show to people, and your API key. So all you have to do once you log on, you go to your profile through this upper right corner, you click profile, and you'll see it shows your email, and right directly under your email to the left of the screen it shows API key. So you have to highlight the API key and you copy that. Now you're going to need that API key after you get the Blender add-on that will allow you to add this to your Blender tool. So we're going to go to add-ons, and now we're going to download the Blender Kit add-on. So for now it's available for Blender 2.79 and through Blender 2.79b. It's the most stablest version, I believe. And then it says install. So you have to install after you get it. Then you get your API key, which I just showed y'all, and then you activate through the actual add-on section through user preferences on Blender. So I'll show y'all folks that. So we're going to go to download. When you click download, it gives you a zip folder. You go to save it and click OK. That will go to your web browser's download section. So go into your web browser's download section, whether it's Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome, or maybe you're using Microsoft Edge. I don't know which one you're using, but you're gonna have to get that download zip folder, and you're gonna have to open the containing folder. So we're gonna open our containing folder by clicking that little folder icon, and then that basically locates on your download section, or whatever defaulted folder that you send your downloads to. It's gonna locate it, and then you're gonna right click, go to properties, and then go to unblock. I do this for every single zip folder that is on my PC whenever I bring the zip folders in from the web. That way I can deactivate any developer blocks or whatever administrative blocks that they put on it. And that's just more like a security precaution. They do that generally for Blender zip folders a lot. So make sure you do that so you can unblock it. And then we're gonna go and right click it, and then we're gonna basically we can extract all. But if you do that, then you're gonna be forced to actually zip it again. So don't extract all for some of the Blender folders that you're gonna be utilizing. I don't recommend you to do that unless you have to go into it and zip a certain folder within it, a subfolder. So this particular folder, you don't have to zip it. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go to Blender 2.79. We're gonna drag this one, since I already located it, onto my desktop, which is fine to do, or you can copy it and drag it. That's up to you. So I dragged it onto my desktop so it's easier for me to find it. So what we're gonna do is go to Blender 2.79b, and we're gonna load it up. And after you load it up, you just go to user preferences. So wherever you have your user preferences at, usually it's going to be under file. If this version of Blender kit that you're using in the future, if you're watching this video in the future, if it's 2.8 and beyond, then you would go to that particular version of Blender, and it would probably be under the edit. So you go to click edit, and then that will give you your user preferences. So we're going to go to file, and then look for user preferences, click user preferences, and then we're going to go to add-ons. So that's basically all you need to do. Once you go to add-ons, you're going to go to install add-on from file. From there, you're going to find where you actually located that zip folder. So I put the zip folder, let me scroll this down a little bit so you can see. I put it in my desktop so it's much easier for me to find it instead of having to look through all of this stuff. So I just click desktop, and you'll see if you put it in your desktop, after clicking it, it's at the bottom. BlenderKit _0_3_45.zip. Now, to understand how to do your add-ons for Blender, basically Blender add-ons can be added as a Python script, which is known as a .py, or a zip file, the .zip. So these are the two different file types that Blender allows you to add as an add-on. If you click on something and it does not come in here into this slot, then it won't be able to be installed. So keep that in mind. You have to click on it, and then it comes into this slot. Then you can click install add-on from file. So that's basically how they work. If you had a Python script, it would be in .py, so you would have to go to the folder and you would have to see the Python script. So what I'm going to do, I'll go to one of my open extracted zip folders for Blender so you can see that. So we'll double click one of them. Let me see if I can find it. So you can see the Python scripts. And this one has Python scripts. So you see it says _init_.py. Anything in this version, in this displayed format, how you see it like this, would be able to be submitted as an add-on. But if it's not programmed entirely for that to actually work as an add-on, as a standalone, it won't function the way that the developer expected it to function. So good example, like utils.py, if this wasn't programmed to actually play out onto Blender as a standalone tool, then it would not convert into an actual add-on if you submitted it. So keep that in mind. But if it actually is just one single py file that you got from your actual forum or GitHub or whatever, wherever you got the actual Blender add-on from, and it only has just that one, 9 times out of 10 you can just use it and place it in there and it should work. So there you go. We're using the entire zip folder. If you go into this zip folder and you open it up after you extract it, you're going to notice there's a whole bunch of Python scripts. So that's why we're putting in the whole entire zip folder so everything can work, because it's much more advanced than the average add-on. So we're going to click install add-on from file. I just wanted to add that information for y'all folks who probably don't understand how to add Blender add-ons or how to install them. So we're going to click over here. After you add it, it says add mesh Blender kit. You can click this little arrow, and the little arrow will give you a little bit more information. Now after you click this little check mark, then you're going to get the option to add the API key. So we're going to click that, and you'll see should update it. There it goes. It takes a little time for it to activate. and then it says register online and get your API key. So if you got this actual Blender add-on from somewhere else other than the website and did not create a membership through becoming a creator, then you would have to go through and register online first, and then you can get the API key. So I got my API key, I copied it, and I'm doing Control V to actually paste it. So I use Control C to copy it, Control V to paste it right here where it says API key. And you don't have to click this use GPU for background thumbnail generation. Don't worry about that. You don't have to do anything else after this. All you got to do is click somewhere and that will accept it. So you click anywhere else and then click save user settings. Once you do that, now this tool is part of your Blender. As long as you don't delete any version of Blender, definitely don't go and delete this version of Blender, you should be fine. I remember I deleted the version of Blender 2.72 from this computer, and then I lost everything in terms of all my add-ons. So I had to bring back all my add-ons from scratch. So as long as you don't delete any versions of Blender, you should be fine, or any main versions that you have for 2.79, you should be fine. So now I'm going to hit the X button, and you'll see now you have a new tab. So the new tab is down here. It says blend, and you can scroll down to see if it has the full word, Blender Kit. See, it says down there. Now looking into it, you have much more capabilities than you ever had on Blender, than I ever had before. And this is mind-blowing, trust me, what you can do. So how does it work? Pretty much you don't have to do anything here in terms of changing this stuff. You don't have to manipulate anything if you don't want to, when you want to get the assets that you're trying to get. So what you want to do is click on one of these bars, one of these little toolbars or whatever. So you click on the little tabs in the toolbar area. Let's click on art, and it's going to say here searching, and this pops up. So this is what blew my mind. I never seen anything like this on Blender, and this is the tooling capability of what you have. So what can this do? Well, when you first start off with Blender, you start off with this cube, right? So the cube is kind of like, what do I do? I'm not sure what to do with a cube. This is what kind of stunted me when I first started with Blender 5 years ago. And you have this lamp, and you have this well, this is the lamp, sorry. This is the lamp here, and then you have the camera. Pretty much you're limited to what you can do. That's basically all you get when you first start out with Blender. Now if Blender started out with this, now I wouldn't have been stunted. I wouldn't have been, you know, how would you say, discouraged to try to learn it, because when you go in and you click on something, it's going to try to incorporate itself into the screen, and that's mind-blowing. That just turns the whole Blender game into a whole nother story. Now there's another tool that you can get, and I'm going to cover that in another video. That one is from a different tool, another third-party tool. So like I said, watch that conference video. You're going to find all of the differing tools that you can add to Blender to take your experience to another level beyond the average. Because the average level of using Blender pretty much is you go on and you have that little square or cube, and you may not know what to do next. So then you're forced to go onto YouTube or Google and start Googling like crazy and YouTube searching like crazy to find out what to do next. And that is not the easiest method, because everybody who makes YouTube videos maybe aren't the best at creating tutorials. So it's going to take you a much longer time to try to figure out how to puzzle things together, and in terms of learning your learning blocks, building blocks. Now look at this. They have actually created 3D characters. So these are actual 3D models that you can go in and you can manipulate and utilize. And also they have licensing for it. So this one has a royalty-free license. All of these here, they start with a royalty-free license. That doesn't mean that it's free. You would have to go into the details on the actual Blender Kit website to try to find out if there's an actual fee connected to that royalty-free license. And I believe since this is free and they're giving it to us up to November 22nd of 2018, we may be getting all this stuff for free. And you'll just have a limitation on what you can do. With a royalty-free license, you're limited to certain amount of uses and what you can do with it. And basically, most royalty-free licenses come with a fee, and that's one of the things. You would have to pay that fee, but you don't have to actually pay royalties over a certain amount of uses over time. And that's the whole thing. It's kind of confusing, but I would recommend for you to look up on Google to find out how royalty-free licenses work. It's very different from a Creative Commons license, a CC license. So keep that in mind. Most Creative Commons licenses, majority, I say with most of them, almost all of them, there's no fee related to the actual usage of it. So it's 100% free. The difference is that you would have to read all the details. Each license, you still have to read all the details and find out what you can and what you can't do based on who gave you permission to use it. So who gave us permission to use these? This would be the author of the actual item. So this particular author is named Willem Duha. So you can read the details here. That's what I recommend for you to do before you actually activate it. So say I wanted to get this character. Actually, I wanted to try the last character, which I like that character. He has a really cool pose. So we're going to try this character. We can drag it and try to drop it somewhere into the screen. What I recommend for you to do is to go down as far as you can, because then if you drop it like this, you won't be able to see it. See how there's no green thing? You want to bring that green thing into view by dragging down. And that basically, I think, creates the size of the character. So the lower you go, the character will have a little bit larger size. And then we're going to drop it right there. It turns into a little image, and then it drops the character in. Look at that. So now the character is built in as a 3D model, and you can manipulate as you see fit. Now keep in mind, these actual characters are built in based on cycles. So they already have all of the textures. They have everything built into it. So we're going to go to Blender, where it says Blender Render up here, and go to Cycles Render. This is a little different when it comes to Blender 2.8. 2.8 doesn't have this option here, and the option will be over here instead. So keep that in mind. Let's see. So it did not change for some reason. I'm not seeing his textures, but I know why, because I didn't change any settings here. So you got to go down to Viewport Shading and go to Material and click Material, and now you can see the character has details. So look at that. That is pretty dope. It looks realistic, and it looks like it was a render that was created from a 3D image that was created. So they used some sort of photos. I think they took a whole bunch of photos and they used some 3D imaging software. That's what I believe, because it doesn't look like it was created through modeling itself. So they probably just kept taking multiple photos at different angles of the character model, and then they actually merged it in to create a 3D avatar of the person, because it looks realistic. This looks like an image. Whatever software they use is pretty high res and it's pretty dope. But yeah, there you go. So this would be great for modeling. If you wanted to use it to create like a different scene, a certain scene, and you wanted to gear this character in. I don't see this character being a character that you can rig, because as you can see, I don't think it has any internal bones. It doesn't seem like it's rigged at all. It's just a posed character model. So let me back it out a little bit. Go down to texture. Let's bring it back down to solid. Let's check out the wireframe. If you look at the wireframe, look at the mesh. The mesh is crazy. There's just way too many polygons. So that's why it's so high resolution. And like I said, I think it's a 3D software, a 3D imaging software that they created it with. So it's not like you can really use this as a base mesh. I don't think you can use it as a base mesh. You probably can build upon it, retopologize, and create a base mesh off of it. That's about it. But other than that, this is pretty dope in terms of creating a scene that you wanted to have different people standing in the scene, and maybe you wanted to create a static scene where the character's not animating, because there's no way you're going to animate this character. I don't think you can animate this the way it is as it stands, because it's just way too many polygons. Let's go out of this, go to solid. Look at all the polygons. It's just everywhere. Tons of polygons. And that, I think, is a good deal, because no one can steal this, I mean, and try to make it their own. It won't work, because there's just way too many polygons, and you can't really build much into it to make something work. It won't work. That's how I see it. You won't be able to build into it to make it work in like a game and all of that stuff. So that's probably a good reason why they're doing it this way, to provide it to the community. As you see, it says face is 200,790, 201,032, 201,032. That's a lot of faces. A lot of the software that I use, you're not going to be able to use that many polygons. It's just like crazy. So I think this is pretty dope, just as a standalone, just to show and tell kind of thing, and create renders with different characters in the scene and stuff like that. So I'm going to delete this one, and also delete the cube. And if you're new to Blender, hey, definitely go for this. This is something to play with. I'll do in the future, I'll do some rendering so y'all folks can see how that would work with this tool. I'm just moving the camera right now, and what we'll do is rotate in the Z axis. I will zoom it in, position it. You want to learn how to play around with the navigation on Blender. Rotate in the Y axis. Hold on, let me back that up. Control Z. Rotate Y, and rotate in the X. There we go. Alright, so say I was to put the character here, you can actually now capture a really good render of it. Say it was sitting in this spot. Camera's focused towards the actual center point, 000. So I would be able to get a really good shot. Good example. Say I was to drag her, you can just drag her in, drag her and drop her in the center. It should incorporate her right there. And once it's done loading, it will pop in. Let's see. Now I did have a problem with one of the characters not showing up, so sometimes it looks like it may freeze or may not work, but just give it some time. Hopefully it shows up. Loading 3D Soul, Standing Woman. See, it's still loading, so we'll see. But yo, this tool is really mind-blowing to me. It is amazing. Now I wish they would have gave us riggable human characters, but obviously they did not do that. But they did provide a rig for a cat, and I found that to be amazing. I never seen a cat rig, and I'll show y'all folks that after this. But just waiting for this to show up. Like I said, it may not show up. You may have some glitches or whatever. Just click it and delete it if it doesn't work. Delete the whole thing. Okay. I don't know what that is. This looks like it's still downloading. If your Blender crashes, hey, you're gonna go through different things sometimes. Let's try to bring in this character. Let's see if this one loads. Alright, so that one loaded. This one is frozen. So we'll put the character right there in the center, and y'all folks should be able to see. I'm gonna try to center this. Use the 0 key on my number pad so you can see her, and it should actually render really good. I believe I may be using a hemi light. I'm not sure. Let me look at the lamp. I'll be showing y'all folks who are brand new to Blender how to use all this stuff. Let's go to hemi light. Hemi lights basically light up the whole scene. And then we're gonna go to render image, and we should see her show up. So that's why they have them set in high resolution, so you can get these really high res looking character renders. So I think that's pretty dope to have a static scene to play around with. Let's back out, hit the escape key, and we're going to, hold on one second, we're going to rotate down the camera a little bit. So we're going to do rotate Z in the Z axis, actually not Z axis, rotate in the X axis, sorry, and use the 0 key. Now that centers it a little bit better, and we'll pull it in to get a little bit closer scope on her, and that should be a really dope render right there. We can also move it down, hold on one second, 0, let's see, oh there we go. So we can use the left click mouse button and then start moving the camera that way. Once we're zoomed in from the, what do they call it, zoomed in from the 0, using the 0 off of the number pad on your keyboard. We're going to click 0 again, zoom out, and now we should be really focused on it. We're going to bring down the Hemi light and move it over towards her a little bit, and instead we're going to throw in a point light. So let's throw in the point light, turn it to a point light, and let's see where we're at. We'll zoom into her face a little bit, go closer to her face. Now you should see it stand out. I'm gonna go to render image. Now that light stands out, so it's really bright. Dope. That's pretty dope. That's a dope render. But the thing is, it's just way too bright, and my computer's gonna freeze. So let me end this session. I'll be right back. I can tell because of the noise is about to pick up. Alright, so my computer didn't freeze, which is a good thing. Let's back this out, hit the escape key. Now if you want to change your background, you can do all of that kind of stuff. Like I said, I'll be showing y'all folks in future videos how to do all that. I'm just giving y'all folks a test render on how you can use this tool to really start to play around with Blender beyond the cube if you're just starting. And it is pretty dope, man. Blender is dope if you know how to use it. I recommend for y'all folks not to give up, not to get discouraged. Learn the navigation of Blender, which is using your mouse to rotate stuff. So I'm depressing the mouse wheel and I'm rotating in a 360 degree rotation. Let's activate the viewport shading. So this is your controls for your toolbar of your viewport. So this is your toolbar for your viewport. You can move it up and down. So we can flip it to the top. We can flip it to the bottom if we want by right clicking here and clicking flip to the top. I don't recommend clicking anything else but flip top or bottom, because then you might send it away and then it's forever in a day to get it back. It's really not easy to play with it to get it back. So then you can play with modes, but I don't recommend for you to try modes yet at this moment in time, because you probably don't know and understand any of the modes. It takes a little time to figure it out, but this deals with understanding the 3D elements behind the character or behind the object. So you would have to understand how to manipulate an armature, how to rig, or how to manipulate rigs if you flip around and change modes based on having a rig set up. If you don't have a rig set up, you won't be able to activate that mode, and all you'll be able to do is activate the mesh modes. So there's mesh modes and armature modes in this settings here. So right now I'm on the mesh and it's not allowing me to activate anything else in it. It looks like they deactivated certain modes for this character, so it's only but so many things you can do with the character, obviously. So in the second portion here, which is the shading, we'll go to material, and you can only manipulate to some degree, giving the graphic to show the graphic itself, but you can't do much else. It's not allowing me to. And we can go into the outliner here. Actually, this is the other character. Let me delete that. Hopefully it should delete it. And it's not letting me delete it. Probably because it has these gizmo things. I had trouble with gizmos where gizmos don't delete, but I can hide it. So I just hit the little eye and now it's gone. So like I said, you may have glitches, so keep that in mind. Now all they're giving you here is the 3D gizmo, and then I guess this is a graphic. So this is the 3D graphic of the character, which provides the textures and stuff like that. But you can't, that looked kind of nasty going in this way. But you can't do much else with it, obviously, like I said, which that's the limitation, and it's okay. Alright folks, so this ends the session. I just wanted to show y'all folks that really dope tool. It's also, I believe it's going to become a community of creators out there on Blender Kit on the website. So I highly recommend, like I said, check it out. If you like the video, feel free to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and definitely hit that bell icon if y'all folks want to get my latest videos that I have to offer. Subscribing to my channel is going to help more people than one. It's not just going to help me, it's going to help the community that's been established for FPC Virtual, which is pretty much a great deal of people who are learning from whatever I learn. And like I said, I've only been knowledgeable on Blender for 3 months, and so far I know that I can really do some really dope stuff using these add-on extensions and all kinds of different tools that are available, besides me being able to come up with my own stuff from scratch. And once I get really professed with it, I'll try to offer some 3D models that I can offer out there. Now this one isn't mine, this is from their tool, and it's at a high render. I used cycles and I rendered it. So in my next video I'll be showing y'all folks from my knowledge that I gained from other YouTube creators and 3D artists who already been into Blender and more professed than me, and I'll lead y'all folks to a lot of their channels so you can check out their videos that help me to learn rendering and all kinds of different things. And I have a playlist you can check in my YouTube video, my channel description. You can look into my the description area of this video or on my YouTube channel itself, and you'll be able to get to the link that will lead you to those playlists if you want to get there before I launch that future video. But like I said, thanks a lot for watching my videos. I really do appreciate it, folks. And to each one's own, each one teach one. We all out here trying to help each other. Not everybody, but some people are actually out here putting out tutorials, and it would behoove you to, you know, subscribe to those type of channels to support those creators, because those creators actually put out a lot more value than the average person. So other than that, I'll see y'all folks next time, and I am out of here. Peace.